guys, what's going on? It's Ben here, and today I want to discuss possible landing destinations for LeBron James. So first of all, I got the Rockets shirt on today. I know I'm a T-Wolves fan, but I'm also a Rockets fan. It's a big conflict of interest that they're playing in the series right now. But, I got the Harden poster. I'm obviously a Rockets fan, so don't think I'm bandwagon either. I was a fan ever since they had Yao in 2010. So there's that. Okay, so moving on to LeBron, I'm going to go through about 5 different destinations that he could end up and just discuss how it would work out, maybe some contract stuff, and if the fit would be good, all that stuff. So let's get into it. Okay, so I'm going to go with the one that's the least entertaining, I think, which is he stays in Cleveland. Alright, so right now he is on the first year of a 2-year contract, but the second year he can opt out. So if he really wants to, he could just stay with Cleveland another year, opt into the contract, and just roll with the same crew with Kevin Love and George Hill and Rodney Hood and the boys. But I don't think he'll do that. I think he'll want to exercise his flexibility and opt out, even if he plans on ultimately re-signing with Cleveland. So if he does re-sign with Cleveland, I think that the outlook is bad. Not that they'll be a sub 500 team or anything like that, but just they'll probably be always between about 45 and 50 wins if Kevin Love remains the second option and they don't make any big splashy trades. They'll probably always be about a second round team if you consider that the Celtics and the 76ers are coming up and about to be a lot better than the Cavs. Next year the Celtics will have both Hayward and Kyrie Irving back, along with a more developed Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and also still have Al Horford and a really good supporting cast. So they'll be a menace to deal with, and the 76ers will only get better. So I think that the Cavs will actually struggle quite a bit if they keep their current core and do nothing. But now the other part of this LeBron staying in Cleveland thing is, what if they pull something off and pull Paul George in, They could do something where they do a salary dump and get rid of J.R. Smith and Tristan Thompson and those terrible contracts and somehow pull in Paul George. It probably wouldn't be able to be those two guys. What would honestly have to happen is they get rid of Kevin Love and bring in Paul George. Now, do I think that that's a good move? I honestly don't. I think that Kevin Love is a better shooter. He can put up a similar 20 points when he's the definitive second option. Also, it really makes you undersized, So I guess LeBron is going to have to play a power forward full time if they switch out Love for Paul George, because Paul George, he's a small forward, but he's honestly a shooting guard. Most people don't know this because he's so tall, but when he first came into the league, he was registered as a 6'10" shooting guard next to Danny Granger on the Pacers. So, he played power forward for a small stretch during 2 years ago, the 15-16 year in Indiana, and a little bit last year too, but it didn't work out all that well, I don't think. They were only a first round team. His rebounds didn't go up dramatically or anything. I think that LeBron would be forced to play power forward, and then they'd have to start Tristan too at center, because unless you wanted to start Jeff Green at power forward, LeBron at small forward, and PG at shooting guard, which, I don't know, I feel like that wouldn't be enough spacing. They'd rather trade out someone like Jeff Green for Kyle Korver at the shooting guard, but yeah, I don't know. I don't like trading Kevin Love away for someone like Paul George. I think that they're honestly a similar talent level. People are inclined to say Paul George is the better player because he handles the ball and he can do an ISO, but Kevin Love is 20 points a game if you use him right. The Cavs don't always use him right, but when they do, he was solid. Like this year, up until Isaiah Thomas came back, he was great. That's why he was an all-star this year. He was getting 20 and 11 every night, and he was doing great. And he was playing center, which is something that Paul George can't do. He's a reduction in size. He's smaller, got a smaller weight. He's just not as good overall as far as physicality goes. Yes, he can dunk and all that. Not that type of physicality, but like rebounding and boxing out and being able to match up with an opposing center. Because if Love isn't there to do that, then LeBron has to do it, and that just drains his energy way more. because he has to expend way more energy on defense, which he already isn't doing at all. So their opposing center would just get really easy baskets under the rim, and LeBron would have to be a rim protector on defense, so that wouldn't really work. So I don't think that the Paul George thing would work. And if they keep the same core that they have now, I think that they'll always be a second-round team, and nothing better than that, really. So I don't think that staying in Cleveland is the best for LeBron. Now, option number 2 I have is the one that has gotten the most buzz probably over the last year, which would be the Lakers. Now, this also has a contingency of whether another player will come or not, like Paul George or Kawhi Leonard. I'm just going to take it as if LeBron signs there and the other two don't. So just what if he alone signed there? Because the other part is just too much of a hypothetical rabbit hole to go down right now with all the different combinations and play styles. But if LeBron went there by himself, got the max, and played with Kuzma, Ingram, let's say they keep Randall and they keep Lopez. They probably let Caldwell Pope go though, because he's making about $20 a year right now, $20 million. They keep Lonzo and they keep Josh Hart, so their starting lineup looks like Lonzo, Josh Hart, LeBron, Kuzma, Lopez, with then Ingram and Randall coming off the bench. Now, I really like that team. I think that that's some good depth, getting those two guys to come off the bench. You have a nice rotation of players. You could even start Randall at the center if you want to go a little bit smaller. I'd probably still keep with Brook Lopez because he's a 7-footer, and he's not a good rebounder, but still 7 feet is nice to have on the court. I like the team. I think that the ceiling, though, would still be about 45 to 50 wins, because you look at the West End, 47 wins was good enough for the 8 seed, and a 46-win team was the 9 seed. The 10 seed had 42 wins, so it's a rough conference. Everyone is good. About 11 of the teams have playoff potential in the West, including the current Lakers, but still, I don't know if LeBron is enough to bring them with their current roster from 33 wins up to 50 in the West. He could do this in the East. He could get the Nets to the playoffs if he had to, but in the West, where the Timberwolves are an 8 seed and they're pretty damn good, it's hard to see where he could come in and they could be contending with the likes of the Warriors and the Rockets. I just don't see it. I think that they're still a little bit too young, and him alone wouldn't do it. Him with another one of these superstars might do it, but him alone wouldn't do it. And even if you got the superstars, you'd give up a lot of the depth, because you'd have to give up both Lopez and Randall. So you'd have a good starting 5, but a very thin bench. So I don't think that that would be great either. I think that they're around 45 to 50 wins with LeBron. All right, now moving on, the next team that I'm going to review is the Houston Rockets. I think that this is probably the one that would make the most sense and would probably yield the best results, in that LeBron could play very well with everyone they have on the team. They're constructed completely around 3-point shooters and passing and fast offense, and LeBron loves kicking the 3-point shooters, and he's all about getting out in the fast break and passing, so that fits perfectly with LeBron. Mike D'Antoni is a genius when it comes to helping ball handlers orchestrate, whether it be Chris Paul, Steve Nash, James Harden, or potentially LeBron James. So I think that they would be just as good as the Warriors. They probably have to give up Ryan Anderson. 2 of these next 3 players I'm going to list: Ryan Anderson, Trevor Ariza, Eric Gordon. They probably have to get rid of 2 of those guys to get LeBron. That's quite a bit, especially if it's Ariza and Gordon, because both of those guys log about 30 minutes a night. But I think that the best case scenario would be getting rid of Anderson and Ariza and then getting LeBron, because I feel like Eric Gordon is just so good. But LeBron would like playing with Ryan Anderson, I think, though, too, because if you look at him, he's just a spot-up shooter and can't do anything else, very similar to Kyle Korver, who LeBron is working with now. I prefer Eric Gordon, though. I feel like if you're in the clutch situation, who would you rather have, Ariza, Gordon, or Ryan Anderson. I'd rather have Eric Gordon. Think of that final team on the court in the fourth quarter. They could have Chris Paul, James Harden, Eric Gordon, LeBron, and Clint Capella. That is a great final five. That probably is on pace with the Warriors for best like 5-person lineup in the league. The Warriors would be the death lineup where they put in Iguodala and shift Draymond and Durant to the 4 and the 5 instead of 3 and the 4. But I think that would be about equal talent with that. The thing about this matchup is that the Rockets don't have much flexibility. They would need to work out some trade. We saw a preview of how this would work last summer, where they were trying to get rid of Ryan Anderson to get Carmelo, but the Knicks didn't want to do that trade because no one really wanted Anderson's contract. So they have to find a team that was slumming, maybe someone in the vein of the Kings who would be willing to take on like a 1-year or 2-year thing for a really expensive player, but they would know that after that they'd have a lot of cap space. They did sign Zach Randolph and George Hill and Vince Carter, really old guys to terrible deals, and Ryan Anderson right now is better than all of them, so he could immediately slide into a starting power forward slot on the Kings. Any of those types of teams, though, Phoenix maybe would take it on, anybody like that. Okay, moving on from that, let's go on to the next team, which is Philadelphia. This is the one that I would like to see him go to best. I love the Rockets, and I'd love to see him there too. But I feel like Philadelphia would be the most intriguing one in that it would be like if you added Michael Jordan to the 95 Magic and seeing how it would play out, I feel like. Because you have the young, tall point guard that's Magic Johnson-esque, which is Ben Simmons, who on the Magic was Penny Hardaway. And then you have the young, energetic, funny, charismatic center in Joel Embiid, who on the Magic was Shaq. And then you have a guy who's going to be around 34, 35, near the tail end of his career, like Michael was in the 90s, which would be LeBron in this present-day scenario. And it would just be so interesting to watch play out. LeBron and Simmons both are going to want the ball in their hands, both play very similar. Simmons has no jump shot, so that's going to limit spacing. And LeBron doesn't have a reliable jump shot, so that's going to limit spacing. I think the thing about this that's going to make it hard is that if LeBron wants to dominate the ball in this scenario, Simmons is rendered utterly useless on the court. Yes, he could get a few slashing plays where he cuts to the basket and gets some alley-oops, or cuts to the basket and LeBron does a bounce pass and gets it to him for a layup, but it's not like LeBron's just going to be able to drive and kick to Simmons, because if he does that, Simmons will go 0 for however many threes he takes, because this year in the regular season he was 0 for 11 on threes and had a terrible percentage in the mid-range, and really outside of the painted area or about 5 feet, he's very limited when shooting the ball offensively. On the other hand, that's the negative, is that they have limited spacing. But on the positive is that they would get a great mentor for the two young guys, and he would bring some great experience to a team that I think is too inexperienced right now. And yes, they have J.J. Redick and Bellinelli and Ilyasova as vets that can help guide them. But Redick's never been past the second round on the Clippers, where he was the main team he was on for the most successful chunk of his career. And yes, he went to the one finals with the Magic, but he was not the main guy on that team. He was a backup and probably got about 20 minutes a game. And Ilyasova, I mean, he's been around a lot, but never really the guy on any team, and never had a big playoff moment or has gone far in the playoffs at all. And as far as Bellinelli, he won the one championship with the Spurs, and he was on some Bulls playoff teams with Thibodeau, but again, he never had that experience of being the guy in the late playoff runs, whereas LeBron has been the guy, won the championships. He can teach both Simmons and Embiid, who want to be co-captains of the team going forward, and both be the guy He can teach them both how to do a good job and be leaders on his team. And also, he's going to make the game a lot easier for people like Embiid. Simmons already does that, but just times it by 2 because they'll always have a master floor general on the court because whenever LeBron is resting, Simmons can play. Whenever Simmons is resting, LeBron can play. So they'll always have a great distributor on the court. And I think that another underrated thing about this is that LeBron could finally get some rest if he went to Philadelphia. He would not have to play 38, 40 minutes a night. He would not have to play every game. He could leisurely play about 70 games a year even if he wanted. They'd still be 55 wins a year with that. And he could play 32 minutes a night instead of 38, and they would be just as good because they would have still 2 other stars on the team who could fill it up. And plus a great supporting cast. They would have Covington. I'm assuming they'd have to let Redick go because he makes $23 million a year, and that's a bit too much to keep him and LeBron. So either he would be let go, or they could re-sign him for a vet's minimum if he winning a championship or going deep in the playoffs is that important to him. But he did just sign this contract saying, I want to finally make some money. So we'll see. But theoretically, the lineup could be Simmons at the 1. They could slide Covington to the 2 because he's a good 3-point shooter. They could put LeBron at the 3, Sarge at the 4, and Embiid at the 5. That would probably be their best lineup. I don't know if that's who would start. They could maybe even take Covington off the bench and put Bellinelli in as a starter. But if you want to maximize all the talents, that's probably who you have to have out there. But if you want to go with a shooting lineup, you could either take off LeBron or Simmons and in their place put on Bellinelli and Covington both at the same time. In that case, you would have 4 shooters and either Simmons or LeBron. I'm going to count Embiid as a shooter because he can pop the 3. He's good at that. It's not his primary shot, but he does a good job from range if he has to. So that's what I think of Philadelphia. I think it has the best upside of any team. And I think that LeBron would do the best there if any place he could go. But if they make the finals this year, they might not want LeBron, actually. It sounds counterintuitive, but they may aim for a different player. Like, they might try and do a trade for Kawhi. Check out my other video if you want to hear about that. Or they could go after Paul George in free agency, who is about 5 years younger than LeBron. But, right there, all-star level play. And they wouldn't clash with Simmons' play at all. But I think that's where LeBron would be best suited to go. Now, I'm going to do one last one that probably many people didn't see coming, but I'm just going to throw it out there and just let the chips fall where they may. Okay, I'm going to be a homer real quick, just for a sec. Don't count it against me, but I'm going to say LeBron James on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, don't click off the video right away. Don't think that I'm insane or just stupid, because this could work very well if you think about it. All right, so the Cavaliers are saying to themselves, man, LeBron's going to ditch us. He's going to leave town. What are we going to do? We're going to only have Kevin Love and J.R. Smith as our franchise cornerstones after this? Don't worry. Everyone calm down. LeBron will opt into his contract, and that will be about $30-35 million a year. And Wiggins, who just signed a $35 million a year extension, will then be traded to the Cavs for LeBron James, straight up, no strings attached, just boom. Maybe one draft pick or something if the Cavs think that they need more compensation. But considering that LeBron is going to leave either way, they shouldn't be too picky about getting a guy that can score 20 points a game back. So let's say that this trade does go down. I think that the Cavs get a decent rebuilding piece in Wiggins. He's what I would say is a poor man's Tracy McGrady. He's got lots of length to him, 6'8", long arms, long legs. He can fill it up if he has to. He loves scoring the ball. He's got an improved three-point shot that not many people are giving him credit for. He still doesn't rebound or assist much, but oh well, what are you going to do? They could still use the 20-plus points a game. Him and Kevin Love could be reunited, the guy he got traded for. And you might be saying, Wiggins got traded for Kevin Love, but why would they trade Wiggins for LeBron? LeBron is way better than Kevin Love, so why would that trade ever happen? Well, Kevin Love was a lot better when he got traded for Wiggins. LeBron is worse than he was when that trade went down 4 years ago. I don't care who's saying that LeBron is better now, but he is really good offensively. If anything, he's just maintaining who he is, but his defense got a lot worse because he doesn't have as much energy anymore. So Kevin Love was a lot better when he got traded for Wiggins. Wiggins improved during that time frame, and LeBron got worse. So it's not as much of a disparity in talent as you might think. LeBron's got probably 5 years left, maybe 6. Wiggins has 15. So Wiggins could give you 15 years of 20-plus points. I think that that's a fair enough trade, and maybe throw in a first-round pick if the Cavs are getting real picky about it. Now let's look at the Timberwolves, not the Cavaliers. The Timberwolves starting lineup would then look like Teague, Butler, LeBron, Taj, and Towns, with the usual suspects coming off the bench, Jang and Crawford if Crawford stays around, and Tyus and Derrick Rose. I actually think in this scenario they might let Jamal Crawford go just because he's so old if they need additional cap space for some reason. And Derrick Rose could actually fill in as a backup shooting guard. He's done well. The problem again though with this team is the lack of shooting. They would have LeBron, who can't really shoot that well, and if they keep Taj on the floor for most of the time, he doesn't have a three-point shot. Butler has an okay three-point shot. Teague has, again, an okay three-point shot, and Towns has a good three-point shot for a center. That's actually why they might need to keep Jamal Crawford, because he's one of the better three-point shooters on the team. But still, I feel like they could find a cheaper option. They could do something where they get rid of Crawford, get rid of D Rose, and then try and bring someone in on the cheap like Caldwell Pope. Contavious Caldwell Pope had a really down year this year. He was making $20 million, but he really underperformed and actually spent some time in jail. Look it up. He was in jail and got released to play games a week. But that's some interesting facts. But I feel like he really could use a bounce back season to prove what he is in the NBA. I like Caldwell Pope a lot. I feel like he's a good NBA player. Just bit off more than he could chew with going and signing for $20 million with the Lakers. But maybe the Wolves could sign him for around $9 million on a one-year deal. They could bring him in. He could be a good sixth man, bring some defense and some shooting like a 3-and-D guy. But if let's say the 5 that they have on the court during crunch time is the 5 I listed originally, Teague, Butler, James, Gibson, and Towns, doesn't have much shooting. That's the real negative about this one. But you look at the upside, Karl Anthony Towns is 21, I think. Butler is still around 28, so right smack dab in the middle of his prime, like Kevin Love would be if he were to stay there. So that's comparable. He's better. I think Butler's better than Kevin Love, and I think Towns is obviously better than Kevin Love. And the thing about Towns is that, he might be about comparable to Kevin Love right now, but when you consider that Kevin Love is 8 years ahead of him in his career, Towns is only going to get so much better. And people often say, oh, Joel Embiid, like he's the best center in the league. But if you watch Karl Anthony Towns, he's right there. It's indistinguishable. It would be like saying who was better, Shaq or Hakeem. I mean, I don't know. I don't think that Karl Anthony Towns is like Shaq. I'd actually more consider Karl Anthony Towns in the vein of, I don't know. He's got a few different guys to his game. I feel like he's got some Bill Laimbeer just a little bit in that he can pop the 3, but you don't really expect it when he pops the 3. And he's also got some low post moves, maybe a little David Robinson. So let's say it would be like comparing Hakeem and David Robinson, like a 1A, 1B scenario. I don't think Embiid is way better than Cat. So I think that could be a motivation for LeBron to go to the Timberwolves. He's got Cat, who's basically as good as Embiid, can give you 25 and 12 on a nightly basis like he did last year. This year he's getting about 20 and 12 because Butler came in and is scoring more. But Butler, Cat, LeBron James with Jeff Teague, Jang, and Gibson, and Derrick Rose, and potentially a free agent like Caldwell Pope in the background, that looks really good. So yeah, I think that the Timberwolves could be an option, even though some people might not. And so wrapping this all up, I think a final point that I should make is that wherever LeBron goes, they will be a good team. It's not like he'd go to a team and they'd win 40 games. I don't think that that's ever going to happen. I think that a big consideration here is that LeBron, wherever he goes, wants this to be the last place he plays. He doesn't just want to go place to place year by year and become one of those guys like Joe Smith who's played for half the league or Jim Jackson. So I think this is the last place he'll go. If I had to put money on it, I'll say let's see here. I would say that if I had to put money on it, the most likely place, oh gosh, this is hard. I'd say I'd put about a three-way tie between the Lakers, the Cavs, and the 76ers. And a lot depends on the outcome of this year too. Let's say the Cavs win the championship, he stays in Cleveland. Let's say that the 76ers win the championship. He doesn't go to the 76ers. So, yeah, that's what I think about all that. And I think another thing to be considered too is that wherever he goes, he's going to get a lot of vets who want a ring coming with him. Like in Miami, he always got Ilgauskas to come and Mike Bibby and Rashard Lewis and Ray Allen. And in Cleveland, he's gotten Sean Marion in the past to come, Richard Jefferson, Kendrick Perkins. Now it's Kyle Korver who's on the team chasing the ring. So I think he could do the same in any location he goes. I think the most interesting scenario of that would be if he goes to Houston and Carmelo opts out of his contract and then he signs for the minimum in Houston. And then you'd have 3/4 of the banana boat with CP, LeBron, and Carmelo. Do I think it'll happen? Probably not. But could it happen? Yeah. And would it be cool? Yeah. Alright guys, that's about all I got for today. So have a good day and I'll see you next time. Bye.